It's been a summer of sequels at the box office with a couple of surprise hits along the way. Scott Feinberg, a film industry analyst and blogger for ScottFeinberg.com, is back with a summer movie recap. Welcome to the show. It's always nice to have you here.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
So let's talk about some of the trends we're seeing this summer.
Unfortunately, I feel like each summer I come here and tell you the same big trend, which is that it's sequels and remakes and comic book adaptations at the expense of original material. There's a reason for that. But first, just to emphasize the point, we're talking about, just consider how many examples this summer: Cars 2, Fast 5, Final Destination 5, The Hangover Part 2, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Spy Kids, All the Time in the World, Transformers, Dark of the Moon.
Wow, you're right, Scott.
It goes on and on and on. And, you know, most of them, unfortunately, as they get deeper into the franchise, do not get better. A lot of people have felt that this Harry Potter one, the 7th in this franchise, is actually the best, so that's the exception. Fast 5, some people felt got better, but most of the time it doesn't. And the reason why this kind of thing happens, unfortunately, is that unlike in the old days when the Warner Brothers was actually run by the Warner Brothers, today these studios are parts of, just small parts of giant conglomerates that expect them to make a huge profit each time out. And so the enemy of that is unfamiliarity. So anything original is a harder sell, they see it. So, you know, and unfortunately, that means that they're going to take fewer chances, and that's why we have only a few exceptions to that, whether it's Super 8 or 30 minutes or less. These are kind of more original, but even the truth is that even they are sort of derived from other things. Super 8 was one that did pretty well this year, but it was actually very much derived from Spielberg movies and things like that. 30 minutes or less from a true story. So it's unfortunately, you go to the movies now and it's all stuff that's familiar.
Lack of originals.
Very much.
Let's talk about some of the movies that are out there now. On a personal note, I saw The Hangover. That was a really popular one.
Yep.
The second one.
Right.
I didn't think it added up to the first one.
Well, this is the thing. The quality is not particularly relevant to most viewers. If they've heard of The Hangover and they like the first one, oh, we're going to go to the second one. But
that's what I did.
So that's it. And
I think we're looking at some video right now,
yeah,
actually.
You know what the thing is? There's not a huge incentive for the studios and the filmmakers to make them great if they know that the audience is pretty much going to be the same either way. So what we have to do is kind of be a little bit smarter about our choices and maybe pay attention to critics, God forbid. And you know, but there were a few surprises this summer. Bridesmaids was sort of a hangover for women, and a lot of people discounted its chances. They said, who wants to go see a comedy that stars all women? And it couldn't possibly do well. And yet it really did do well and crossed over between the genders and age demographics, and that was one that did very well. Another one, Crazy Stupid Love. Who would think that in the summer, when the cineplexes are crowded by young people, that they would go and see a R-rated adult sort of dramedy? But again, did quite well. There were also a few surprise disappointments. Everyone sort of felt that the Green Lantern, one of the oldest comic book franchise or comic books, the adaptation with Ryan Reynolds, the sexiest man alive, supposedly that would draw people, but it tanked. And the other one that tanked, two of the most reliable box office stars of our time, Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, made a movie together, Larry Crown, and it came and went with virtually.
Yeah, I didn't even know that one, Scott. I mean, remember hearing
that was a problem, and I think it was not fun for Tom Hanks, who also, you know, that was his pet project. He directed it. He really guided it up.
Didn't turn out too well, huh?
Yeah, I guess maybe they're past their prime, or we just don't go for that kind of movie in the summer.
Summertime. Well, what happens now as fall moves in?
Well, it gets a lot better, and unfortunately, the good side and the bad side of this is that fall means Oscar season, and Oscar season means good movies. But the problem is that now the studios know that to get Oscar attention, they almost always have to put their movies out closer to as close as possible to the end of the year when voters are going to fill out their ballots.
I see. It's all premeditated.
It's all premeditated,
okay.
And so that's why for the first 3 quarters of the year, you very rarely get anything of substance. And looking ahead to the future, I mean, right now it's starting to get better in theaters. You see The Help and One Day, both very popular books that have been adapted for the screen. Those are coming. Help was out last weekend. One Day is out this weekend. But as you look to the real future, I'm looking at May of next year. We've got a movie based on a board game. We have Battleship. So
no kidding.
Next thing, it's going to be Street Signs. I mean, it's really running out of ideas apparently, or just not wanting to take chances. So the only way that's going to change is if audiences and viewers demand it and show up for the original stuff.
Got it. All right, Scott, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being here and all of your recommendations. It's been fantastic. All right, coming up.